to another episode of The Man Space. I am super delighted to kick off 2026 with my co-host Marquise Martin Hayes to talk about things that are relevant as we get 2026 started. And today's conversation in The Man Space is going to be around the 2026 Man Code and how the manhood is evolving and posing the question, how are you evolving? And how are the new rules that are quietly being embraced by men? How are you living by it? How much of it are you aware of? And how are you building your 2026 code? So, to kick this off and make sure we continue to build a safe place and a space for men to have these important conversations, Marquis, take it away.
Doc, I'm so glad to be here. 2026 is here. What a time. What a time to be a human. What a time to be alive. What a time to be a man. And as our show is focused on, it's men. And how do we show up in life as life has presented itself to us? Now, obviously, all of us are in different stages, but there are some commonalities. And today I want to, with Dr. Kas, touch on a few of them. So, Doc, feel free to ask questions or chime in along the way. I don't profess to speak for all men, but as a man, there are some fundamental things that I can speak to, and I welcome your feedback. We welcome your feedback in the chat. We welcome your feedback in the comment section because this conversation is designed to elevate all of us, not to say this is the only way, but rather there is a way. It's probably higher than the majority of us are living, and we should continue to elevate toward it. You ready to dive in?
Absolutely, absolutely ready to dive in. So, Marquis, as a gentleman entering the 2026 space with everything that is going on around us,
Yeah.
the world is changing, the economy is changing, the way work is done is changing. And there is an evolving need for masculine leadership to be soft and gentle at the same time firm and strong,
Yeah.
and that busts the myth of physical might is how masculine leads
Yeah.
to the gentleness, softness, the true gentleman showing up.
Mhm.
How are you seeing it, and how are you? I mean, you do this well, so what allows you to do this well, and what allows you to coach and help other men go down that path and evolve?
Yeah, that's a great question, Doc. For me, one of the first things that show up is one, being very comfortable with myself. You guys have heard me talk about this before, but self-awareness, number one, is my greatest asset. I believe it's your greatest asset because when you're self-aware, it allows you to navigate life significantly better. Instead of being controlled by narratives outside of you, you are attuned to the guide that's within you, which allows you to know when to be tough, strong, know when to be soft, gentle. And so I use that as the premise behind how I govern myself. A lot of that comes from sometimes picking up the phone, calling my fathers or my mentors, and weighing some of what I feel against the wisdom that they can offer. Sometimes it comes from even talking to my son and navigating what I think compared to reality, just to sort through those things. But one of the very first things I would say is no man is an island unto himself. So without a council of men in your life, which should also include women, then it's impossible, in my opinion, to be successful and navigate such complex times. I know for me specifically, as a father, one of the things when we talk about the softer side of men is really not men need to be soft, but men need to be in tune not only with their masculine energy, but their feminine energy. Why? Because we are a whole being. And anytime we're not in tune with our feminine energy, then we become aggressive in all the wrong spaces. And when that happens, we tend to destroy relationships. We tend to be out of balance. We tend to cause destruction in the name of being a man versus being a wise man who leads and serves equally. For me personally, when I think about
Mhm.
excuse me, the softness is being able to navigate when do I need to stand firm and hold my ground that no, this is what truth is, and I will stand behind it, hell or high water. And at the same time, equally knowing whether I'm right or wrong, knowing when to be gentle in the right spaces. And for those of you, some of you may not know how to navigate that. So I'm going to give you ways that I do that. How do I know when to stand firm? And then how do I know when to allow or be more flexible? When I think about standing firm, I think about justice and I think about injustice. Now, I know that in America, a lot of those lines are blurred. Here's how I judge it. As a baseline, I am human and I'm here to advance the betterment of humanity. So if what I am doing or what I'm coming up against does not advance humanity but advances a cause, then for me, that's a clear line in the sand that that's a time for me to stand because I'm here for humanity, not for someone's cause or what they believe is right or wrong. If it doesn't help humanity, then it's probably a problem. And I believe it comes from a selfish source. So in those moments, you're going to find me standing, ready to go toe to toe in the masculine energy that I am, without question, without compromise, and without apology, every single time. So injustice is one of those things for me. I will rise to the occasion immediately because injustice looks outside of me. It doesn't look for what I think is right and serves me. It has me considering others who are a part of humanity. And so I will stand immediately with that. On the flip side, when I think about the feminine side, or when I think about when I need to be softer, when I need to stand down, which has nothing to do with losing my masculinity, I think about my children. I think about my daughters, which generally speaking are easier to consider. But when I think about my daughters, I also think about women. I know for some of us, it's easy as men to say, well, it's my daughter, so therefore. But my daughters are also women at a different stage. So as a man, if I'm not also being kind to women, then I have to question what's happening. If I'm not also listening to women, I have to question what's happening inside of me. Now, granted, that doesn't mean I listen to every woman who has a conversation. Absolutely not. But the voices of wisdom in my life, like Dr. Cassaturi, I have to pause what I think is right and at least consider it. Why? Because she's a counterpart in the betterment of humanity. She's the opposite of me in terms of energy, and it helps me be broader and better. But if I think that I'm right, I don't listen to her. I don't listen to the other voices that are put in my life to help me be a better man. And then I can become destructive. So to me, our daughters or the women in my life, that is a great way to begin to find that balance of when do I need to just pause and listen. It's essentially respect for the energy that they bring, respect for the yin yang, because I'm not both. I wasn't intended to be both. So I have to rely on my feminine counterparts who are in my life as gifts to me, not as sexual predators or toys or anything of that nature, but are gifts of wisdom of life that complement the journey that I'm on. And as a man, it's imperative that I understand the difference in who they are so that I never dishonor it. Because to dishonor it would dishonor me and my own flow. Of course, it took years to figure that out. So I'm sharing it with you now. But when you understand someone's in your life as a spirit that's whole, that's not for you to do the masculine thing. That's for you to pay attention and pause because they're queens, they're leaders in their own right to help add to what you're up to for the greater good of all of us. Is that helpful,
So
Doug?
yes, absolutely. Two things resonated for me. First, you're talking about the need for a man to shift from dominance to depth and
Mhm,
dig deep and see the whole person that each man is and
mhm,
allow that to surface.
mhm,
And then instead of controlling, right,
mhm,
building competence to navigate that ebb and flow. And
mhm,
in a world where it's not just men holding all the key positions, with a balance of power coming, it's important for men to start building competencies too. Because the
Absolutely.
era of I'm a man, I go bring home the bacon, and you sit in the office and do everything in the office doesn't work anymore,
No,
right? So I am hearing you talk about the importance of depth and competency
absolutely.
with a shift away from dominance and control. So that is one. And those are what we call soft skills, right? It's not that men need to become soft. Men
No.
need to be comfortable with the soft skills, which
Mhm.
is another term for human leadership capabilities, so that men are able to influence change instead of, command and control and push change. So that is one I am hearing. And the other one I'm hearing is women have been so good at building a sisterhood. And research shows that the quality of life for a woman, her health and her well being, is 100% correlated to the sisterhood she builds.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Men, on the other hand, historically and research proves that their well being and their health is completely predicated to the woman in their life, their significant other.
Yeah.
But you are talking about the need for men to start building a brotherhood, men to start being able to rely on each other and
Mhm.
have these conversations in a safe place and a space without feeling like my manhood is going to be questioned or
That's right.
somebody is going to look down at me. So
That's right.
to me, I find that the second part is going to be harder because men are so prone to posturing with one another
Yep.
instead of toning it all down and showing up as they are with one another.
Yeah.
How do you see men taking that journey, and how does that first few steps look like?
Yeah, it's really difficult because growing up, King of the Mountain is a game that boys play, right? Like I'm the one in control. It's this really unhealthy misnomer. Yet at the same time, it has some benefit in the context of go within and find your grit. But we bring that into our manhood as if it actually defines us. But with a father like the one that I have, I'm often challenged to think, is that all? Are you only your strength? Are you only who you can manipulate and control? And I've come to understand that that is a level of weakness and emptiness that many men have not been exposed to because they've been praised for being king of the mountain as if that's their identity. And in reality, it's not. Because when things are taken away, then you get to discover who the real man actually is, what he's lacking and who he's not. And in those moments, you begin to find out, wait a minute, that's actually not who I was. Or if it was who I was, is this all that I have? Is this the best of me? And if you find that that's what it is, then you will know clearly you've been misled. The reality is that as a spirit, you are on this planet with other spirits. And the question is, how do I take who I am and my masculine nature, work with other men and the feminine counterpart for the betterment of us all? Doc, there's this thing, this term I've been using for the last 2 years. It's that we're interdependent. I need you to be fully who you are because when you are, you're satisfied. But when you're satisfied and you're overflowing, you now have something to offer me that will make me better at being who I am so then I can exchange to someone else. And in the general Western way of the way we raise men, it's all about me, 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 me. And we then misuse, abuse, and take advantage of others for the sake of protecting the image, because it's nothing more than an image. Nothing more than an image. It's actually emptiness. It's a reflection. It's a wish. It's dust about my manhood. But unfortunately, many of us don't know it. And that's why I use the opposite. When it's not there, who are you? And if you find that you don't know who you are, then you've probably built the notion of your manhood on something false, fake, and empty. Now, that doesn't mean you are fake. It just means the foundation of your manhood was built on sand. And as a result of that, it's going to change with the wind. But when you understand your masculinity is never in question outside of discovering who you are, and discovering the strengths that you uniquely have, then you get to live more freely, not always on attack, not always looking to defend nor demand from someone else so that you feel protected. I would wager it this way. If we think about our lowest state, our lowest vibration, if there were a scale 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, too many of us are still living at level 1. Too many of us are still acting, don't mean to be disrespectful, man, but too many of us are still living the elementary life to figure out who's king of the mountain. When there's a big, broad, grand, vast world needing us to step up to the plate where we use our consciousness as well as our brawn to begin to make things right for those around us and with us ourselves. And I understand until that level of consciousness occurs, it can be really rather difficult. But that's why the man space exists, to challenge you to dig deeper. If your friends around you are all the same mindset that you must conquer and divide, you're probably still at level 1. And it'll work for a while until it doesn't. And that's why we find suicide rates tend to be higher with men. That's why we find men depressed and on medication. That's why our lifespan tends to be at a minimum 7 years shorter than our female counterparts, because all we've done is try to prove something and we miss out.
Mhm. I'm glad you went there, Marquez, because the masculine way of approaching evolving is to edit the image, right? Image editing can only go so far, but the inner work, every man has to start thinking about their self awareness and their self management and their inner work as their inner operating system. How do you evolve your operating system so that you stay relevant and you stay connected to everything around you? And your image is a result of that operating system evolving, not you editing the image. It would be very much similar to women thinking that they get plastic surgery done and then that
Yeah.
physical augmentation is going to somehow change them. No, you're still the same person.
Yeah.
And nothing is enough if all you want to do is tinker with the image.
Yeah.
Until we change the operating system, nothing is truly going to transform.
Nothing. Yeah. Doc, I love that you brought the word image up. For my fellow brethren raised in a Western world, the notion of your image is the most emptiest, lifeless, meaningless expression of who you really are and all that you really bring to the table. It's the lowest level. And I remember having a conversation with a friend, and the reality of that moment was that unless we can produce more than something to bring to the table, then we don't have anything at all. And I just kind of thought to myself, that's accurate if you are dealing with people who think at level 1. But the reality is that there's so much more health and vitality beyond level 1. So I understand we live in a world where many people are there. The man space is to help you realize there's a different layer, there's a different level of living where you're not plundering, you're not trying to take to validate the image, which again, as Doc said, it's basically a photocopy of you with no sustenance. There's another life, there's another version of you, there's an expression of you that has so much more peace involved in it, so much more vitality in it, so much more of flow. Does that mean you don't work? No, of course you're still going to work. But imagine not going to work because you have to, but going to work because you get to, even if it's the same job, because you have a shift in who you are and why you're there and your contribution versus just make ends meet and demand from others and complain. There's just a shift there, and it's not mind games. It's really not. There's really a consciousness level. And I know as men, we don't talk about consciousness as much. My son do, some of my best friends do. We get to do that. I'm in a great circle. But start digging deeper about what those conversations mean. Start watching some of our past episodes. We talk and allude to some of these things about a different version or a higher version, shall we say, of you. It's not you becoming someone else, it's you not living at the lowest version of who you are,
Mhm.
because that has so much opportunity in it. And what you'll discover is you don't need to leave your partner at that point. Many instances, you don't need to leave your job. You might let go of some of your toys. You might even choose how you spend a little bit different because your value system begins to change. And that's really what we're talking about. In order for you to elevate, especially now in a society where our values have eroded significantly, at least publicly, they don't exist. It's imperative that you rediscover your.
Very much so. And building on what you're talking, Marquise, the code, the man code for 2026 is not command and control.
Yeah,
It is depth and competence.
yeah.
And the way 2026 masculine is going to exert influence is going to have to be through compassion and kindness.
Yeah, yeah.
And physical might is no longer the baseline for influence.
No, not at all.
Mhm.
Doc, I would even add the space for physical might, since that's something some of us thrive on, is really in the sense of disciplining your body, not against someone else, but disciplining your body. Taking control of your body so that your hormones in your body function at an optimal level, not so that you can fight, but so that you can function. There's a big difference between the two. It's not how big your muscles are. Many of you men have heard it's more about mobility. How strong can you be while also being agile so that you have longevity. And those things lead to that other element called mental toughness. Because a lot of us are disassociated with our ability to be mentally strong. And when things don't go our way, we crumble. When we don't get the promotion, we crumble. Those are signs, those are all indicators of not being mentally tough at all. And the response to mental toughness is not brawn, it's calmness, it's vulnerability, it's researching, it's humility, it's taking a step back to find out what's actually happening inside. I know we don't practice it, but in terms of all the brawn, all the strength, yeah, that's mental toughness and physical toughness. Those are internal exercises that we have to cultivate and develop because those are the things that discipline us as an individual. And I can promise you, man, as you discipline your body, as you discipline your mind, it allows you to be strong when you need to be outwardly, as well as gentle outwardly. Because now you're no longer just flying off the handle. You're no longer throwing your negative energy toward other people, expecting them to give way to you. Instead, be able to be more present, think more clearly, and choose more wisely, therefore, then validating the man that you actually are.
You summed it up very, very well. It's amazing how time flies.
Here it is.
And I love everything you laid out there. So I am going to actually encourage the audience of the Man Space to go back and listen to some of these thought provoking nuggets of wisdom because none of this is new. The man
No.
code is not new. This has evolved over time.
Mhm.
2026, unlike any other year, is going to demand the good men, the men who want to evolve into leadership, to have the courage to stand
That's
up,
right.
deal with it, acknowledge it, and embody it.
That's right.
So, as we wrap this up, Marquis and I welcome you to start thinking about how are you evolving to
Mhm.
meet the test of times of 2026 and beyond? And how are you continually evolving in a way that you're physically, mentally, and emotionally resilient? And how are you bringing that resilience forward to become an influential leader who takes your ability to evolve with kindness, compassion, and empathy and build it with the brotherhood, right? Build
Mhm.
it with a brotherhood so that supported you take that journey,
That's right.
supported with the masculine strength, you continue to evolve. And as Marquis reminded us, don't forget to interject the feminine influence that you have in your life. Anything you want to add, Marquis?
No, other than now is really the time. And we need men to be men. And that starts with redefining who are you actually? Because you're missing and we need your presence more than ever.
Absolutely. And as the way you said that reminded me that men need to be men and not boys. Boys get angry, boys throw a tantrum, boys resort to physical violence, men don't.
That's right.
And the 2026 man code is going to demand that men who want to be influential, who want to be leaders, step up and truly show up in their manhood and
Mhm.
have the courage to do so.